Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your Inner Bridge with Bridge. Girl, your sharing has turned into oversharing. No worries, Bridge. Geico has some info worth sharing with your 7 blog followers, like how you could save money on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim just by visiting geico.com. How's that for building your inner bridge? Bridge? Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, people. Another version of Hot Lots with Stats. My name is Mike Perricone. I'm here with CJ. Got anything to say before we get started here, CJ?
Sorry, what was that again?
I said you want to say anything before we get started?
No, just make sure I want to welcome everybody that's new to the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Make sure you guys check us out on Twitter at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, 110 Nation Sports. And make sure that you guys check us, like us, or follow us. There you go. Better yet, follow us here on Blog Talk Radio or Spreaker. That way you can keep up with all the shows going on here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network.
Okay. We have a good show tonight. We have 2 previously booked guests and one that was booked kind of in a rush this morning. Explain that to you later on. The first guest we have will be John Visconti from Visconti Motorsports. And he runs a successful race team that this year is running a crate modified and moved up from the Legends last year. I don't know, is John in the studio?
Are you there, Mike?
Yeah.
Your first guest is in the studio. John is in the studio.
Okay. How you doing, John? John Visconti.
Yes, sir. I'm here, Mike. Can you hear me?
How you doing? Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can adjust this. Hold on. There we go. Is that better?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Great.
Okay. Tell the fans a little bit. You only had actually the whole Northeast has been a victim of the weather. As far as Riverhead's concerned, 3 scheduled dates and 1 has gone off, and that was a delayed opening night. Tell the fans what happened on that particular evening.
Well, first off, we did have 2 rainouts out of the 3 scheduled races. The one race that we did get in, which was 2 weeks ago, our team, the Visconti Motorsports team with C.J. Lehmann driving, we had gone out in practice earlier in the day, and waiting to go out in the second round, the car wouldn't start. That being said, we waved off going out for practice, and we pushed the car back to the pit area, did some of our due diligence, and we come to realize that we had a broken valve spring in the engine, which obviously we would have to terminate the racing for the evening.
Yeah, except that you guys got lucky on 2 fronts.
Yes.
One, you got an engine from a competitor. I don't remember exactly who it was, but you can tell us because I read it, but that slipped my. I noticed it, but in 2 weeks I forgot who it was. And
right.
also one of your major sponsors is Tommy Baldwin.
Correct.
And when we were talking earlier in the week, Tommy came down from actually you told me he was on Long Island even though the team was in Dover.
Yes.
And he helped you pull the engine, or you didn't have to, well, pull and reinstall the new one.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened from the beginning. After we had realized that the motor was terminal and we weren't able to run for the evening, that was probably around, I would say, close to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Our heats start at 4:30 and our features start at 6. That being said, just to correct you, we didn't actually get a motor from a competitor. With the Riverhead Crate Modified class, the only way you can purchase a motor for that division is through Riverhead Speedway, and they have a stock of them in their warehouse.
Oh, okay. I thought I read maybe it was a different thing, but I thought I read that you got a motor from somebody, but okay.
No, that's the way. You really can't. With our division, you're not allowed to get engines from anywhere other than Riverhead Speedway's surplus of the motors that they have in stock. They're sealed, and you can only run that motor that they have sealed and inspected prior to selling them to the teams. The way Tommy Baldwin got involved, obviously Baldwin Automotive is one of my primary sponsors, along with IGA Food Markets and Applebee's. What happened was one of our crew members, Tommy likes to keep tabs on what we do, and we give him a little, synopsis of what goes on throughout the course of the day. And that being opening night for us, he was as excited as we were. He had left Dover that afternoon to come back to Long Island for his mom's birthday party. So he was on Long Island. And when he found out that there was a situation with the motor, his bottom line was, what do we need to do? How do we get on the track tonight? We have to go racing. So I had gone over
after he blew out the candles.
I don't even know if he did blow out the candles. He kind of made it. I literally got off the phone with him, and 15 minutes later, he was at our pit stall giving us some moral support as far as, as much as he can do to get us. I have to say, I'm jumping from one scenario to another, but we spoke with the owner of Riverhead Speedway, Eddie Partridge, and the head tech inspector, Randy Murray, and I said to him, what can we do? Do you have a motor, in stock available for us to get? They said, yes, we do. I said, okay, you know what? We'll work it out. Go get me that motor if it's possible. Eddie sent one of his guys with a pickup truck to their warehouse. They forklifted it into the back of their truck, and they brought it back to Riverhead Speedway for us to, and at that time, our crew was now
on the eastern end of the island.
I mean, they were relatively close, but they were not expecting to go get us an engine, and here it is. It comes in a big box like it's a Christmas present, and I have to tell you, my team is basically first off, we're new to the crate mod division, and the team that we assembled over the winter really showed their colors, because we had about an hour and a half to take one motor out. I know it's been done before, but we never did it as a team, and this car and this division is new to all of my guys. Scott Lehmann, who is our crew chief, who's CJ's dad, he's our car chief. We have Mike Lemura, who's our crew chief. Then we have Pat, Rich, Tim, Ryan, Isaiah. Everybody has a job that they literally got on the car and did their job. It was like a chaotic ballet. Everybody knew what they were doing. The motor came out. All the accessories went from the old motor onto the new motor. The inspectors were around watching, as this was happening. The new motor went in the car. We fired it up, and literally 15 to 20 minutes prior to the green flag of the feature, we were race ready. Unfortunately, we had to start last in the feature because we missed our qualifying heat.
Because you pulled the engine, or
because we missed. Not only did we miss the heats, we missed all the practices and the heats, and the heat rather. So that being said, we were just hoping for a finish, but through the luck of the type of crew that we've assembled, the car was put together, which took us months to do over the winter, literally in an hour and a half to 2 hours, and the car went on the track equally as fast as we've been in previous sessions, and 1/1000th of a second slower than Dave Brigatti, who won the race. So we felt as though that was a very, it was very acceptable for us to be in that position at the end of the day.
Right. Well, like I told you in our discussion earlier in the week, the interesting thing was I've heard of engines being pulled all the time in drag racing.
Yes.
But I have never seen it. I've never actually seen it done in Riverhead's pits. I mean, I know you guys work in the shop all week long, but I've seen different repairs made, but I've never seen an engine pulled. So that was different, to say the least.
to say the least. And I have to tell you, it kind of goes to show that the tenacity of my crew, none of them said, let's just pack it up and, we'll come back next week. If they had said to me, if I can get a motor there, they will put that motor in the car and we will go racing that day. I'm like, I'll do my end and you do your end. And like I said, it's probably not the first time it was ever done, but it's the first time that my crew ever did it, and it's the first time that I was involved in something like that. And I could not have been more impressed with my team, in the capacity of working as hard as they did. And it didn't look like a bunch of guys just mulling over the car. They really, each one of them did their own little area, and it worked out very well for us.
I saw a shot of it. I think Amanda took a shot in the pits of you guys doing it, and it was very organized. Even though you say it was chaotic, when you were in the middle of it, it was chaotic. But it did look like everybody took care of their section of the car.
Exactly. It's ironic because my wife Marie and our good friend Jeanette, they were taking pictures and video the entire time, and it wasn't until Monday when I finally took a breath that I went over all of the pictures and video, and it was like, you know what? It didn't look. The pictures made it look easy, but the guys really worked their tail off. And it just goes to show you the type of team that, the Baldwin Automotive, the IGA, and Appleby team want to be, known for. Everybody's fast in the winter. When everybody's in their garage, everybody's fast. We were lucky enough to come out our first practice, which was, I guess, the third week in April. And luckily enough, we kind of backed it up with, being the fastest and being quite, on point coming out of the trailer. And then we backed it up again the second week. So going into the third week of track time, which was opening day for us, it was exciting to know that even though we did have an engine problem, we were able to run competitively. And I have a feeling if there were a few more laps left in the race, we would probably have most likely could have taken second place. I don't know if we would have caught and passed Brigatti, because Dave Brigatti in our division is the guy that we sort of measure how we should be doing, because he's been in it before. He's a modified driver, and he's got a phenomenal operation, and he's always fast. So if we can keep up with Dave, and if we can run with Dave, we feel as though we're doing our job.
Right. And he had the tour mod for a long time, and probably still does, right?
He still does, yes. He runs a truck. He runs the tour mod.
Yes, I know.
The tour type mod and the crate modified. So I would have to say Dave is probably. And another thing, just to throw this out there, when we weren't sure if we would get another motor or not, Dave came over and offered us everything and anything in his trailer, from spare parts to motors.
Okay, that's
it was unbelievable.
That's what I read. Somebody wrote about Dave, and that's what I read.
Yeah.
I thought he gave you the motor.
No. Dave offered us a motor, but the truth of the matter is we weren't allowed to use that motor.
You can't do it, right.
But it was, it was really nice of Dave, and Dave would rather beat us when we were at our best on the track, and vice versa, than know that he beat us because we were sitting in the pit area. And that's why each week, we're competitors on the track when the green flag drops, but as soon as the the checkered flag drops, there's nothing that I believe pretty much any one of us wouldn't do for each other to help each other out to get back on the track. And Dave did offer me an engine, heads, whatever I needed, even money. He says, if you need money, I got some money in the trailer. I'll help you buy a motor. You know, it was one of those things. And, you know, we were grateful for that. He's not only a competitor, but he's a gentleman, too. So that was very nice of him.
He's a good guy. I sponsored his car one week for a tour show one year.
Right.
So I know I gave him, I think, $100 for tires and sponsored his car.
Yes,
but
I remember that.
The interesting thing, based on what you had said, though, if he had given you the motor, you would have been disqualified in some way.
Yes, it's true. Well,
and
you know what?
Didn't know that rule.
Well, we weren't really sure. You know, it's a long story. I don't want to really get into the politics of it.
Right.
But the motor that Dave was going to offer us really was no different than the motor that we had in the car. There would have been some provisions that it would have been made, and there may have been some, extenuating circumstances that may have been, need to have been done. But it didn't work out that way. But the point of the story was that Dave did offer us whatever we needed to help us get back on the track, and that goes a long way with us.
Right. No, he's a good guy. All right, as far as this week, what do you have coming up as far as the division? And tell the fans a little bit about the program. The interesting thing about the program coming up, I'll just add this, and then you could take it from there. For the first time in a long time, the midgets are coming back.
Yes.
And so that's going to be interesting. But as far as your division, what's running this week?
Well, in the regular Riverhead classes that will be there will be the Tour Modifieds, the Crate Modifieds. I believe the the Legends cars will be there. And then they are going to have the Nehmer cars, which are the midgets. The Alan Cantor Memorial Race, which ironically is being sponsored by one of our sponsors, Mr. Charles Reichert, who owns the IGAs, is representing the Alan Cantor Memorial division, because he was a big supporter of Alan back when Alan was driving, as well as Adam, his son. IGA also sponsored them, and it's sort of a little tangled web. When Adam decided to no longer race, it kind of opened up a sponsorship possibility by Mr. Reichert, and him and I were in contact, and since no longer Adam was running, he decided to sponsor us many years ago. I think it was 5 seasons ago now that he started with us with the Legends cars. He was my first real primary sponsor at the time, and he's been with us ever since. I know you took
yes, you explained to me about Applebee's also, but I know you took a lot of you took a lot of your existing. I think Tommy was added. Well, he might have been involved with the Legend too. I don't remember what you said. But you took your total sponsors from the Legend car and just transferred them over. Everybody came back.
Yes, our original sponsors for the Legends car was TBR, Tommy Baldwin's Racing, IGA Food Markets, and Applebee's. Since we have now gone to the modified division, we have picked up other sponsors such as Shore Mechanical, Performance Synthetics, Bottle Hampton Wine and Spirits, TJ Halpins, Long Island Truck Parts, and Velocity Supercar Driving Experience. Those associate sponsors, it costs a little bit more money, obviously, to run a modified than it does to run a Legends car.
Right.
So over the course of the winter, we have, we picked up additional associate sponsors along with our primary sponsors that have been with us since the beginning. Like we discussed the last time, that they came right along. They were all excited that they were moving into a new division with us, and they wished us luck, and they came along with us. And with that, they gave us a lot of credibility, being that it's Tommy Baldwin's Baldwin Automotive, it's IGA Food Markets, and it's Applebee's. These are all corporate sponsors. So when you go to someone to sit down with them and discuss who's on board with you, they feel privileged, and they also feel as though, if these corporate sponsors are on board with you, you must be doing the right thing for them, and that's why they came on board with us. Like Jeff McGrath from Performance Synthetics, he's our AMSOIL sponsor, you know.
Right.
It worked out very well. It's easier to get sponsors when you already have very notable sponsors. People want to get on board with you.
Okay, the thing, and I'll follow that up when you were talking about sponsors know that you're out there for them as well. You're one of the few teams, I know you did it with the Legend car, and you did it already with the mod. You go and you make appearances with the car.
Yes.
And I guess it's the whole team.
Yes.
In front of Applebee's and at different places.
Yes.
Tell the fans if they're interested in getting their business involved or having you come and visit the business or visit the business with the car, how they can go about that.
Well, they could follow us on Visconti Motorsports. That's our Facebook racing page. They can get in contact with us through a private message or through a message through Facebook. But the reason why we do it, we were at Applebee's last week, and we were there for a couple of hours, and unfortunately the weather wasn't great. So the Applebee's that we had gone to was directly across the street from Riverhead. So we were hoping for a bigger turnout, but when they canceled the races, those people that were going to the track that would see the car in the parking lot weren't able to go. But we still had quite a few people that were there that were just customers, and they were in love with the car. They came, we signed autographs and gave out hero cards and little coupons for, ice cream sundaes for the kids. And the reason why we do it, they give us X amount, all of my sponsors, they financially help us do what we love to do every weekend. And I would venture to say I wouldn't be able to do it the way we do it without their backing. So if we can give back to them, if we can get another 100 customers to their place and each one of them spend X amount of dollars, it's sort of a return on investment. It's something we can do to give back, and everybody loves a race car in front of their spot. I've had calls from people that are not even sponsors of ours, just local places that know that we have a race car and ask us to bring the car down just to draw a crowd so they can sell more of their merchandise, whether it's a deli or whether it's a 7-Eleven or whether it's a school fundraiser. We would gladly bring the car to your establishment. We would spend a couple of hours there, let kids sit in the car and take pictures and, basically do whatever you'd want us to do in order to bring fans and new customer base to your establishment.
Well, the combination this year, especially of the track being under new management and, I won't say better facilities, but improved what they built up and so forth, and the teams getting more involved should bring out more fans.
Yes, I agree. What the Partridges have done to Riverhead brought it, I would say, out of the 60s and 70s into today's day and age with, the way they, first off, the men's and ladies' restrooms are much newer and cleaner and nicer. So that's one thing. The concession stands, they have new vendors and they have new concession stands. They have different types of food now. They have a beer garden. They have a wine garden. They have a band playing. I believe it's going into turn 3 on the outside of the track, or maybe it's turn 1. I'm not really sure. But they have a band playing throughout the course of the day. So if you want to take a break from the racing, you can go stand out, have a cocktail or a hot dog, and listen to a band play. They're really trying to make it fan-friendly. And I know a lot of people complain about, the price of this and the price of that. I have to tell you, I believe that they're barking up the wrong tree, because where are you going to go for whatever amount of money that it may cost to get into a facility like Riverhead for the day with your family and get entertained by 7 different divisions of racing? I think, if you think about it, there's 7 different divisions of racing. That's 7 features and at least a heat or two per division, you're talking 14 to 17 or 18 races per day at the track that you're going to see.
What I was struck by is, now I remember the spectator drags from Iceland. And
oh, sure.
Eddie appears to be bringing back all those old programs, like the midgets who didn't come to Long Island for a long time.
That's true.
And now I guess it's this week that he made the announcement. They made the announcement, or Bob Finan had it on Facebook, that they're bringing back spectator drags next week as well.
Yes, they are. I failed to mention that. That's true. They are doing that. You're right. That's always fun. The fans get to see, street cars go out there and see who's got the baddest car that could turn lefts. It's funny. Those cars, everybody goes fast. Really, really, they come off the line because they started at a dead standstill. By the time they get through 1 and 2, they're up to 30, 40 miles an hour. All of a sudden, they're going down that long back straightaway, and they realize they're flat out, and they're going into turn 3, and not many of these street cars can go into turn 3, and it makes it quite interesting.
When I used to watch that at Islip, I used to wonder what's going to happen if one of these yo-yos lose control of the car and hit the wall. He's not going to be able to get the car home.
Explain that to your insurance company.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, what happened? Well, I was racing at Islip Speedway and went into the wall. Oh man, unbelievable. Okay, as far as anything else, as far as sponsors or people that you want to mention, go ahead.
Well, I've really, throughout the course of our conversation, the people that are important to us are the people that I had mentioned. I can't, and I say this, I've been saying this for 2 weeks already. I can't thank my team enough for coming together and putting the car back on the track, and not just to go around in circles, but the thing really went fast and it made left turns. And,
right.
Nothing fell off of it. Nothing broke. No oil leaks. No water leaks. They put this car back together, and it ran as flawlessly as it did the first 2 weeks of practice and the first heat last weekend. So, to me, I hope we don't have to go through this again, but it was something
obviously.
that, it's something that at least, all of us kind of sat back at the end of the night, put our feet up and said, wow, that was a cool deal. That was something that you hear about, but you don't see often. And we did it. And I have to tell you, a lot of the people from Riverhead themselves, whether it was my division or another division, at one point in the night came over and kind of gave us a thumbs up. That was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to even try to do it. I have a friend of mine, Bill, from he's on a crew at Wall Speedway. He came down and he was helping me push an engine stand, hoist from one end of the track to the other, because we had to borrow an engine hoist. So everybody chipped in. I had Pete Sindone help me. The gentleman was there, a couple of crews over. Everybody that was there either gave us a thumbs up or did some sort of something for us. Ran to oval speed to get us the oil for the new motor or whatever. It was a combination of so many people. It's sort of like being, on the Grammys, and you can only thank so many people in a 3-minute speech. But it's, I couldn't thank everybody. Everybody that was there was perfect.
End up getting to thank your wife or your mother or something at the end of it,
Well, my wife was there. My wife Marie was there, and she just sat back and she just kind of took it all in. And she's never seen this happen. When we were doing, the Legends division. I've been around racing my entire life since I've been, I was born in '63 and my dad was already racing. But Marie has only been, so to speak, involved with this modified since I've been involved in it. So to her, it's a brand new deal. And when she saw what we were going through, she was just in amazement and couldn't believe that something like that could get done, And it was great that she was there to be there and be a part of something that I thought was kind of monumental for us.
Yeah. Exactly. It was the whole team deal, and that's the thing that I wanted to mention too. Is there was a lot of, I won't say a lot, but there was a little bit of sniping and people saying, oh, well, people aren't cooperative in the pits. And by and large, they are. I mean, sometimes with what goes on in the track, unfortunately, or on the track,
right?
People get their own issues,
Yes.
not between one another. I won't say against, but between one another. But by and large, when you're off the track and you're in the pit area and something like that happens, everybody does pull together.
Yes. It's funny because when I had said before, when the visors go down, it's every man for themselves. And there have been a few instances I've seen over the course of all the years that I've been at racing that sometimes things get a little out of hand after the races. But you know what? For the most part, I would say 99.9% of the time, if somebody wrecks out and,
right.
You run over. That's how Richie Davidowitz and I got together when he was a competitor of mine, and
right.
he broke a motor in his Legends car. My driver broke his wrist, so I wasn't in the points anymore.
Right.
So I offered my entire car to Richie so he could stay in the points race, and that's how that marriage started. And lasted for that season. So we all try to help each other.
You moved up, and ironically, you moved up, and Richie ended up putting together the car that went down last year.
Yes.
So
correct.
he's back up with his car, and in fact, I was talking to him. I wanted to get him on. I will probably by the end of the year, but the first 2 weeks, the first week that the practice rained out.
Yes.
He went to Wall and won, and so he's already 2-0.
Yes.
Between
he is.
Between Wall and
Riverhead.
Wall, and he won the first. Obviously, you were there.
Yes.
He won the first Legend opening night. So
yes, he did.
2-0, and
Yep.
he's working on a perfect record. But so I guess he's got the family car running good too.
Yeah,
but,
he does. Well, Richie's got a good program going. He always did. That's why I was happy to give him the car, and it lasted for the season for us. That was our arrangement. I'll give him the car for the season, and we won a lot of races together with that car.
Right.
Stepping up to 2016 with CJ, it was a perfect relationship for us because they have their own family charger car.
Right.
Which they race at Mountain on Sundays, Evergreen Speedway now on Sundays.
Yes.
They won opening night at Evergreen with their car.
Yep.
So, Tommy was a sponsor of ours, and Tommy was a sponsor of theirs. So when I decided to do the modified division, and in speaking with Tommy about it to see what direction I should go in and what type of car I should buy and all the small incidentals, he said, who do you want to put in the car? I said, well, I'm not really sure just yet. He goes, why don't we do C.J. Lehmann, have him in the car, and we can combine our sponsorship, and we know that he's a good driver. And you know what? I think C.J.'s won 9 or 10 times already, and his family, his crew, his dad, everybody is just, they're such nice people, and they're so willing to do whatever it takes to make the car go fast. It doesn't matter.
And he does that their family too. And I know this from being around him with the Charger car. They also do what you do in the sense of outside help in terms of I can't think of the word now. Like Leukemia Society and things like that.
Sure, they do appearances to help.
Right.
Sure, they do the appearances to help out. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was one year he had a situation, I believe it was for the Leukemia Society, where he would let kids sign the hood or the back of the car. I'm not sure. I don't think it was the hood. I think it was the rear of the car, and have your name on the car and things like this for like a $5 donation or something like that.
Yep.
So, and that's when you were mentioning sponsors, and you said you started out with IGA and those three, Applebee's and so forth. But then when you brought CJ on, that's what I was going to mention too with TJ Halpins and everything else.
Right.
That's where you picked up the extra sponsorship too.
Right,
Not,
the associates,
not,
exactly.
Not the least of which, right? Not the least of which was Tommy.
Right.
So it's good that he, with all he has on his plate, and I can only guess with the Sprint Cup and everything else, it's good that he has time to devote.
Yes.
To short track as well. I mean,
well,
that's
the one thing about Tommy where, there's been plenty of times that I know when not to call him. I know I shouldn't call him on a Saturday, on a Sunday rather, and I know I shouldn't call him on a Friday when they're doing their thing. But I would say probably every Tuesday, him and I touch base one way or the other, whether it's through a text, an email, or a phone call.
Right.
And there's never been a time that I needed something or I needed advice that he didn't find the time to give me his opinion on it. So,
right.
As big as Tommy is in the world of motorsports, he's small enough to talk to the little guy like us and give us the best advice possible. And he's a Long Island guy. It's great to have that.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, that's the thing. He doesn't forget his roots.
Right.
Him and his father used to be one of the better teams on Long Island for a long time, going back to Islip and probably before I even was a fan or even born.
Right,
His father was driving a long time, and
yes,
he was always involved with that car in one way or the other.
Of course,
even as a kid. I remember him running around the pits with a T-shirt and dungarees and working on the car.
Yep.
So,
well, when we were kids together, my dad ran late models, his father ran modifieds. But when we were kids together, we were at the tracks together at the same time together, and it was something that was, we sort of grew up around racing. And Tommy took it to the next level when he went down south, and it was amazing to me that, a guy that I knew was out there doing a cup deal, Yeah. And it's a good relationship, and I try not to overstep my bounds with it because it's easy to try to get something out of somebody that has that kind of collateral. But I think that's the reason why he stays with me or why he supports us is because we only take what we're offered. And when he stepped up to the plate and said, "Listen, this car has got to get back on the track. We don't care what you have to do, just get it done." Get this, meaning when the crate mod had the engine problem, I was like, all right, whatever we got to do, we'll do it. Let's go. And an hour and a half later, we had a race car on the track.
Right. Well, and I was just thinking, in the course of, looking up my research in terms of now, a lot of the guys, obviously, I know a lot of the guys associated with Riverhead for a long time. But I looked into things to see if anything was new, and I saw on the schedule that in a couple of weeks you'll probably have Tommy in the pit area because the Evans, Baldwin, and Jazambic race is coming up.
That's true.
Very, very soon, if not within weeks. And,
I believe it's coming up. I believe I'm not positive. I would have to look at the schedule, but I believe it's in 3 weeks. They're doing
3 weeks, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
So that's a case of where we don't want you to blow an engine, but you'll have Tommy there just in case.
Well, what's funny is it's actually June 4th, the Baldwin Evans Jazambeck Memorial, and my class, the Riverhead Crate Mod class, is off that night.
Okay, well. So you could sit with them in the stands, I guess.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I'll do one of those turn one cowboy deals with them. Sit up there and have a cocktail.
Really. All right. The interesting thing is for the fans to know, I had booked CJ along with John, but CJ had family responsibilities come up, and we didn't want to have him duck into a men's room and deal with echoes somehow.
Right.
So we'll have him on later in the year, I'm sure. But what I wanted to ask you in relation to CJ is, has he shared with you the differences in driving his family car and the modified and what he's picked up in terms of the difference at this point?
Yes. It's funny that you mentioned that because him and I had a little debriefing after the first couple of modified practices, and he's so accustomed to driving. It's not just the open wheel end of it and the full body. The crate mod turns into the corners, how do I explain this, like a go-kart. A much quicker turning radius. It handles it's like a go-kart on steroids, you know. And the Charger car doesn't quite handle through the corner the same way. I mean, the lap times are similar, but the power band and the way you enter and exit the corner are completely different. And it takes a little bit getting used to from what CJ told us. But you know what? He's a young kid, and he adapts very, very well. He's got a lot of talent, and the biggest thing that I find with CJ is he gives excellent feedback to our crew chief, Mike Lemura, and to myself and to Scott, his dad, our crew chief. He understands it.
I hope his dad and him communicate, and they have had practice with the family cars. So
right.
You know,
well, you know, the difference is everybody that came along with him is so used to working with the Charger that the setup is obviously completely different. But the way the car rolls through the center and comes off the corner and enters the corner, it's a vast difference. And CJ has enough driver expertise to know the difference, and he's able to give us the feedback where, we can make adjustments for him to make the car go exactly where it wants to go.
As you were saying, that his group, as it were, that came over was more attuned to the Charger. That's where Mike Lemura comes in.
Yes,
because he had prior experience with a tour mod.
Yes, exactly.
So that's where you can cash in his brain power there on that, on that aspect of it.
Well, the way it kind of works out is the guys that came along, I put this kind of a mixed match team together over the winter, and I was hoping that it would work itself out. But the guys that came with CJ were his primary Charger car guys, and the level of enthusiasm is second to none that those guys have. But none of them knew anything about a modified. Come along, I speak to Tommy Baldwin about, who am I going to get? He says, well, speak with Ryan's father. Speak with Jeff Priest. He'll guide you through this whole process. So, I was friends with Ryan. I'm friends with Ryan for a long time, and I was, speaking with his dad, and we got in touch with Mike Lemura, who was with Ryan for a while, was with Wayne Anderson for a while, was with the Parks crew for a while, and he comes with a really good pedigree. So I sat with him one night over a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever we were having. I drink coffee, and we discussed. I'm having one right now, matter of fact. We discussed what I wanted to do going forward. So that being said, nobody knew each other, and we needed to sort of trust each other on a handshake that we were going to give each other what we promised. And at this point, everybody's happy. Everybody's doing their job. Mike is brilliant at what he does. CJ and Mike get along very well as far as giving, debriefing and data. And, it seems to work for us. We're doing it, every week we're learning new things, and every week we're going a little bit faster. Even last week when we broke a motor, we were just as fast as when we, had the original motor in the car.
Right. Well, being a new team, you can't be winning every, walk their top. But I'll tell you what, third place for a first time out is pretty damn good in view of what you went through.
Yes, I agree. And the times were there. The times were there. That's what was important. Knowing that the car ran 1/1000th slower than the leader was impressive to us because you were coming through traffic doing it. So we felt as though the car was on point, you know?
Right. Now, to follow up on that, something I forgot to ask you when you said it before. I know you had to start from the rear because of the situation with the motor.
Right.
But if you had gone off at the regular position through practice, where would you have placed? Do you know?
Well, what happens is since this is a new division and basically it's a whole new hierarchy at Riverhead, the way they decided to start everybody off the first week of racing was when you roll through into the pit area, you pull the ball out of a hat, so to speak.
Okay, they did
and
that. Yeah, they did that.
that's where you would start your heat race. Then, if this, and this is the only time that this would happen, so you pull a ball, and that's where you start your heat race. If you win your heat race, you start first in the feature. If you finish second, obviously you would finish second and all the way down the line. Now, this week, that was just to start the season off so people had a way, so that the track had a way to determine where people would start that was fair.
Yeah, position.
I believe Dylan Slepian, who was last year's Legends champion, started off, I think he won the heat, and I think Dave started on the outside pole because he finished second in the heat.
Right.
And because we didn't take a heat at all, or, we had to start last, which was fine.
You were in the back,
this week.
right.
Now, this week, so to answer your question, I don't know where we would have started because I don't know where we would have finished in the heat, but I would venture to say we were running well enough to be in the top three, I would say.
Right.
And if that was the case, we would have started in the top three. And I think with the amount of laps that we had in the feature, I think we probably would have given Dylan and Dave a good run for their money.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have had to come, obviously that makes sense. You wouldn't have had to come up through that volume of traffic from the back.
Exactly.
If you started in third, in P3, you would have been all right.
I think so. But I think that, you know what, I think under the circumstances, I can't ask for more than what we got. This week now it's done by points. In the past, we never got points for the heat races. Now, if you win the heat, you get, I believe, 5 points. Then it's 4, 3, 2, and then 1. So now it's kind of important to win a heat because we're third in points right now, and we're, I believe, 8 points out of first. But we didn't get any points for the heat. We got 0 points. So, so we finished third, and I think we got 48 or 46 points, I think we got. So we're third behind Dave and Dylan. If we would have gotten some points, we would have been a little bit closer. It's too early in the season for us to worry about championships, but we do want to win each battle, which in the end will give us the war. That's what I tell.
You can't count points right now. You're 1 week in.
Right. But you know what? Every week is another week. And I keep telling my guys, let's be consistent because I think consistency is what's going to wind up winning the championship. You got to keep all 4 wheels on the car. And I think, if we can continue with keeping the car and keeping the right front on it every week, I think that we have a good shot, as good a shot as any, to win the championship this season. That's what we're looking for.
Right. Well, obviously I've seen CJ drive the Charger, and he does a good job. So, and I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, not last year, but the year before when I was there on an every week basis, he had driven somebody's tour mod for a night or a couple of nights, I think, just to test it or something like that. In the sense of trying to get ready for something that came along, and here come you.
Right.
Which was I don't think planned at the time because it was like 2 years ago, but I remember him jumping into a tour mod for somebody.
Yes, I do remember that.
Somebody's extra mod was red. That's what I remember. I don't remember the number.
Okay.
But I remember it being red, and but I remember him taking it for a few laps or a race or a practice or something.
Right. I have to tell you, I think with what I've seen with CJ, I think the kid can adapt to any situation because he has a really good seat. He has a good feel for the seat.
Right.
I don't care if it's a go-kart or if it's a late model or a Charger or a modified. We have future plans together. We're all hoping for bigger and better as the seasons go on. But my thought is that whatever we throw at him, he will do it the best way possible. And as long as he keeps giving us the same feedback and he's as confident as he is, and he's not overconfident, he's not cocky, which is what I kind of like cockiness a little bit because I'm a little cocky myself. But he, I mean, no. you know me long enough to know I'm pretty,
No.
I'm no Jimmy Blewett, but I'm cocky. I think Jimmy's probably listening at this point. No, Jimmy, I have to say, I mean, off the beaten path, Jimmy is an awesome. I love watching Jimmy Blewett drive. Love watching him drive, and I'm always impressed. Win, lose, or draw, he always puts a show on, as you know. So
I know that I saw John Blewett Jr. drive starting in '76 and right up through, and
yep.
That whole family can drive a modified pretty well.
That's true. We're hoping if our season goes as well as it does, as well as we hope it does, I think what we'll wind up doing is maybe there are some rule differences in the motors for Wall Stadium, but I would venture to say if things go as planned for us at the latter part of our season, we may change motors, use a Wall Stadium sportsman motor, and go get our feet wet over there, and then try to run the Turkey Derby in the sportsman division.
That leads me to my next question. I was going to ask you, twofold. One would be, I guess, the division in Wall is the SKs.
I think they call them Wall Sportsmans. I'm pretty sure. Right. Jimmy would know that, but I think they call Sportsmans.
Yeah. I'll ask Jimmy.
Okay.
But basically, I know they have the SK mods, and then I don't know. They probably run. Well, I know they run tour mods because Jimmy runs there.
Right.
But I think it's the SKs that they have. That might be Stafford. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stafford and Waterford run the SKs, and Wall runs what they call the Wall Sportsman Modifieds, which is what I want to eventually get get a motor for that car and run a couple of nights, at the end of our season, and then hopefully run the Turkey Derby in the Sportsman division. That would be the icing on the cake for us at the end of our season.
Right. Now, not necessarily 1 year in, or 2 years or 3, but that leads me to my long-range question. Would you step up to a tour mod ever?
The answer would be yes. And to put a time frame on it, I couldn't tell you. Because, but the answer, yes. The reason why, Mike, the reason why I purchased the type of modified that I bought was, we'll consider it R&D, research and development. I wanted a car that I could easily convert to a tour modified with with the appropriate pieces of the driveline, but the car, this way we know the car, we know that it's going to be competitive because that car had previously sat on the pole in 2 tour races prior to me owning it.
Right.
That was the John Beatty number 11 at the time.
Okay.
It only had 6 races on it. The whole. It's at 13, and it only had 6 races on it. So 2 of those races it sat on the pole.
Now I know one of the
Easy,
races
Bill.
It won, because I know one of the races it won because I believe it was 2011, and his crew had built that modified Friday night into Saturday morning.
Yes.
He told me, John Beatty told me the story, that car was finished being built at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning. They put it on the trailer, brought it out to Riverhead, and he won the first race with it.
Well, that particular, I have to correct you just for a second.
I think that was the 11.
That was the red and white number 11. That was actually it was actually number 14.
Okay.
But that was his first tour mod that he did win the race with. Then he went and bought a brand new tour mod, which is the one that I own, which is a 13, and it ran, I believe, 5 times, and he has 2 poles with that car.
I had. There was also another one. Maybe he didn't renumber it yet. That was black car that was number 11.
Yes.
And I remember him telling me the story that was built. Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't like you say. It wasn't the first race, but it was the first race with that car.
Right.
It finished being built at 2:00 on a Saturday.
I remember that. You're right.
They trailed it, and the first night it ran at Riverhead, it won.
Yep. I remember he got the pole and he won the race.
Right, because I remember writing about it in the column. That's how I know. He told me the whole story behind it.
You are correct, Stats. You are correct.
Yep. There's not too much I remember, but that I remember. But yeah, that was. But I didn't know. I knew he had the 14, but I didn't know that was the same.
Yes.
It was white. I believe it was white and blue
and red
when I saw it.
Right.
Yeah,
it was a red chassis. That was his 2012 car. It was a red chassis with white and a white body, and the new car, which was the black one, which is what I own, is the number 11 that ran. It ran the last tour race that I remember was at Thompson.
Right. Okay.
And I bought it after that.
Then that's the one you must have. That's the 11. The original 11 is the one you bought.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good car.
No, it's a great car. It runs great. I mean, that car looks like it actually belongs in my living room. It doesn't belong on the racetrack. It's a beautiful looking piece. Everybody loves it. I hope it stays that way for the rest of the season. But in the meantime, it's it's a good piece to have.
Maybe you could put it in the living room because I know Marie sat in it a few times.
Yeah, she did sit in it a few times. She looked kind of cute in that thing too, didn't she? Yeah, she did. She did.
I remember the picture you had because I figured you were going to hire her before you hired TJ. But
well, I don't think if I could pay her salary in shoes, she'd probably do it. So in the long run, it's probably cheaper to have CJ.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Just to wrap up here a little bit, just give your sponsors a shout again, and also how fans can reach you on social media.
Great.
And just to wrap up after that, just like what the rest of your season looks like in terms of the season as far as Riverhead, but then any traveling you might do with the car.
Okay, well, as far as our sponsors, I know that we covered them all before, but our primary sponsors, like I had said, is Baldwin Automotive, IGA Food Markets, owned by Mr. Charles Reichert, and the Doherty Group, who are our Applebee's sponsors. Our associate sponsors who've come on board are Shore Mechanical, Jeff McGrath's Performance Synthetics, Bottlehampton Wine and Spirits, TJ Halpin's, of course. We have Long Island Truck Parts, which is a Long Island trucking part company, obviously on Long Island, and they help out a lot of different teams on Long Island, which is great. And we have. I'm sorry.
I think they're involved with Harry Brody, aren't they?
I believe so. They, what it is? They just enjoy racing, and they what they do for everybody. Everybody has their own little deal written, but they're one of our bigger sponsors as far as associate sponsorships are concerned, and they really, really do the right thing for us. They buy all of our tires for the season, so to me that's a huge benefit for us. And if anybody wants to drive a supercar, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, we have Velocity's Supercar Driving Experience, which is you could go rent the car for the day and drive it at New Jersey Motorsports Park and go have some fun for the day. And then when you're done, you pack up and go home in your little family, car, which is pretty neat.
Volkswagen.
In your Volkswagen, right. As far as reaching us on social media, the best way to reach us, because we're constantly on it, is Visconti Motorsports on Facebook. You become a fan or a member or whatever, and you'll catch all of our updates of where we're going to be, where we're going to race, how our weekends went. That's always cool to do. We have a weekly update, and they're not allowing in-car cameras anymore for our divisions, but there are different venues that are out there that actually videotape all the races, so we can upload those and we could show everybody our races for the day. And if you want to get in touch with us for anything else, if you want us to have an appearance at your business or your establishment or a fundraiser or a parade, just give us drop us a line on Visconti Motorsports Facebook page. We'll get right back to you, and if it fits within our schedule, we'd be happy to do it for you. And as far as what's going to go on with the Visconti Motorsports team going forward, we're going to concentrate for the most part on our season at Riverhead, and going forward towards the end of the season, with any luck, we're going to be making our way over to Wall Speedway for a couple of shows towards the end of the season, and then hopefully hit the Turkey Derby.
Very good. Very good. And good luck, John, for the rest of the year, and we'll have you on. Get a streak together, and we'll have you on like in the middle of the season and maybe at the end.
Absolutely.
So,
I want to just mention one more thing, if you don't mind, and this is kind of really important. And I just want to mention that everybody does barbecues and does family outings and watches Formula One and Indy and NASCAR on Memorial Day weekend. But we got to remember, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for our veterans. And I just want to thank all the veterans that are listening and give them a big thank you for their services over the course of the years, and wish them a happy Memorial Day, and thanking them from all of us. And
CJ is one of them. So
yes,
our producer.
Yes,
so
I remember you telling me that. So I want to thank you guys, Mike. I thank you for having us on the show. I'm sure Mr. Blewett is waiting on in the wings, and I'll be listening. And have a great weekend. Can't wait to see you out at Riverhead. And everybody else that's out there for the weekend, enjoy, be safe, and all of our racing friends, be safe. And Bill and Jeanette, thanks for listening. They were my friends from Jersey that are doing something for me that they're out in New Jersey. They're supposed to be working on a race car, but they're listening to your show right now, so that's pretty cool. So have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, John. Enjoy your weekend.
You too, Mike. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was John Visconti, who runs Visconti Motorsports with C.J. Lehmann, and they're doing very well in the 1 week, but they're doing very well. They had good luck the first week, even though they had to replace the motor, as we heard. But they're going to be right up there because anything that man is behind goes fast, no matter who he has driving. And he's had two excellent drivers that I'm familiar with, and he's going to do well. And so anybody that's on Long Island, definitely go out and support that team. Okay, our next guest will be Jimmy Blewett, who runs basically primarily at Wall Stadium, and also on the WHELEN Modified Tour. Jimmy, are you in the studio?
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, Jimmy, how's it going?
Good. How you guys making out tonight?
Okay. All right. Question now. I first saw the Blewett family, as it were, John Blewett Jr. run Islip and Riverhead at the time from like 1976 on, because that's when I started my column. I was a fan before that, but I was about 10 at the time. But I actually started writing after college or during college, and that was like in 76. How often, I know, in reading your information, getting ready for this, besides what I already know of your family, how often do you get to Long Island and Riverhead now? Because I know they used to trailer into Islip virtually every Saturday night. How often do you get to Long Island?
Not often enough. I really enjoy going to Long Island. I really enjoyed my my ride with Eddie and Connie Partridge. You know, we ran out there weekly in 2005, and basically made it to about midway through the season before Eddie and Connie took me tour racing. But
Right.
I miss going out there. I know a lot of people out there. I met a lot of great people, a lot of great friends that I still stay in contact with all the time. The Salominos, you know, Dave Royce, you know, my spotter, you know, for a long time, Freddie Kraft. You know, the list of people from Long Island that I met is a long list. There's a lot of great people out there, and I don't get out there as much as I'd like to, you know, due to family and you know, just not enough time.
Think it's Now I would think it's only the when the tour comes in, correct? You do those two, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I'm running the full NASCAR WHELEN Modified Tour schedule in the Bob Gloverino Mystic Missile Starrett Dodge, and you know, we'll only be doing the tour races there this year, unfortunately. You know, even if I wasn't driving for Bob this season, you know, our family, my grandfather, we planned on bringing our, you know, Red, White, and Blue 76 to Riverhead, and you know, maybe even for a couple Saturday night shows and for the tour races. But like I said, you know, this year is basically going to be, you know, a full tour schedule and then fill the void in with Wall Stadium.
Oh, very good, very good. All right, as far as just to touch on it, the most people that are involved in racing unfortunately have a dark side of it too, and unfortunately your family was touched by some, you know, an accident with JB3. Now, I've always wanted to ask this just in general because I know that a lot of what can happen with a mod especially is the throttle gets open. Now, doesn't an asphalt mod or a mod of any type have a safety feature where the throttle can't be fully opened, or if it is, that there's like a governor of some sort to make sure that doesn't happen? Or is there a part that malfunctions, or when a thing is fully open like that, or how does that work?
To be truthful with you, my brother's throttle didn't stick in that incident, and we do run tow straps in our car. It's, you know, it's optional, and we do have a kill button mounted on the steering wheel. It's mandatory, basically at all NASCAR sanctioned events, and most local tracks are picking up on that now as well.
Okay.
Just if you get yourself into a situation where you don't have enough time, your hands are on the wheel, so you can quickly, you know, get your thumb on it and reach over to.
Right, it's right there. Right. I always wondered about that because I know Evans went through that, and Charlie from Long Island also, where invariably it happens that the throttle is wide open, and I always wondered how that occurred, other than by malfunction. You know.
I think it occurred because Charlie and Richie always had the throttle wide open, and that's why they won a lot of races because they were hard targets and they were hammered down. You know, it's just unfortunate that things that do happen when you are racing, but that's the risk we all take. You know, we all know when we strap into them cars, what's at stake. You know, as far as you know, your life being in danger. You know, but you know, only thing I could say, you know, on this discussion is, you know, I speak for my brother, you know, for mostly, but I'd probably say that, you know, Richie and Charlie, if they were standing here now, they would agree with me that, you know, they got to go doing something that they love, along with a lot of other race car drivers out there. You know, most people lose their lives, in accidents, related, deaths, and it's something that they just out of nowhere, where they're walking down the street, or in a car accident, or they're riding their motorcycle, or at work something falls on them. At least those guys got to do, go doing something that they truly love. And I think with that, it makes it a little easier.
Yep, and not to minimize it, but like you say, when you do race, you know what you're signing up for. The possibility is there. The possibility is always there. And obviously you hope it doesn't happen, but it can happen. But you know that going in, I guess.
Yep.
And that's for any kind of racing at all. All right, again, I was reading up on you more than usual because of this. And one of the things I was struck by was that Eddie and Connie Partridge partnership. I didn't realize that they got you back into it as far as the tour when you took, 1 year off, it said? You were off in 2013 or 14, and then got back into it for 2 races at the Icebreaker in the beginning of the year. And it was Eddie that got you involved. Tell the fans about that.
Eddie and Connie have, my career, I wouldn't say I have the greatest career, but, I won my fair share of races, and, I accomplished a lot of things that I never thought in my life that I would be able to do. And I do give the majority of the credit to Eddie and Connie. They stuck through, stuck with me through thick and thin, through the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. When I first started driving for Eddie, I was just a young, basically a young punk kid, that just was wide open. I just wanted to win anything and everything, whether it was practice, heat race. I wanted to win anything at all costs. And I wrecked a lot of equipment, and won a lot of races with Eddie. But they stood by my side from 2003 to 2009, and I feel like that was the stepping stone I needed to become a mature driver. Eddie raced me as much as he possibly could race me. If it was Thursday night at Thompson, Friday night at Stafford, Saturday night at Riverhead. If Wall Stadium had a race, we were at Wall Stadium. If Riverhead wasn't doing nothing, if we wanted to ride out to Oswego on a Sunday and had a special event, or Chemung, New York, you name it, he would get me there, and made sure that I got as much seat time as possible to keep me as sharp as possible, when I did drive his car. But,
right.
Just nothing more I could say for them. I feel like they're probably one of the greatest groups of people, if not the greatest group of people that you could possibly be involved with in auto racing. As far as you see him now, Eddie's running his tour team still, and he went out on a limb and bought Riverhead Raceway to keep that tradition in Long Island alive.
Right.
That speaks volumes for him. He kicked it around for years, and he would joke around with me. We'd pull, and I'd say, hey, come on, Eddie, when are you going to buy this place? And he'd laugh, maybe I will buy it someday, and we would all laugh at him,
Little did he know, I guess, right, at the time?
What's that?
But I wanted to ask you, too, when you drove for them, did you bring the 76 out, or were you driving their version of the 6 that now Ryan Priest is in?
When I started driving for Eddie, his number was 12, and Bo Gunning was the driver for Eddie. And,
okay.
Bo was getting towards the end of his career. He had a great run with Eddie as well, won tons of races at Stafford, won the championship there. And it was getting towards the end. you know, and Eddie took me on, and we ran a part-time schedule, you know, at Riverhead. You know, my brother set that deal up with Eddie. You know, Eddie was looking for a driver and reached out to my brother and said, you know, I want you to drive my car. And my brother told him, you know, I'm not really available, but, you know, why don't you give my brother a shot? You know, and Eddie said to my brother, you know, who's your brother? And my brother said, you put him in your car and you'll know who he is. And Eddie told my brother, you know, you bring him up, we'll fit him in the Riverhead car and we'll run him half the season here, and if he can survive here, you know, we'll see where we can go from there. You know, we went out that first season, and you know, Eddie's car at that time, the Riverhead car, the number was 5 on it, and it was, you know, crew chief by Richie Nemec and a few of Eddie's guys, and we went out and we won 3 out of, you know, I'd say the first 10 races there. You know, one of them, you know, was the Cromarty Cup, and you know, things just started to mesh, and everybody was getting along really good. We were having a good time, and we were running strong, you know. So we decided to take the next step and go tour racing. And, you know, we came right out of the gate there the same way. You know, we had some really strong finishes, and the rest basically was history. You know, we ran SKs on Thursdays and Fridays. You know, it took over Bo's position, you know, running Thursday nights and Friday nights at Stafford there. And, you know, it's like I said, the rest was pretty much history with Eddie.
Right. Okay, when you started running the tour, what track do you favor? Is there one track you do particularly well at, or that you like driving at more than others? Or
I'll be 100% honest with you. I like every racetrack. I don't care, you know, when I stand in the pits and I hear fellow drivers, you know, stand there with their sunglasses on and their hair slicked back and, you know, whining, you know, I don't like that track, I don't, you know, it's a racetrack. You go there to race, you know, if you're a real race car driver, you go race any track and you'll like it. You know, I just enjoy racing, you know,
right.
whether it be Riverhead, Waterford, Loudon, New Smyrna, you know, Walsh, Among, you know, I've been out to Holland, you know, I've been out to Spencer, you know, I've been to a lot of different racetracks, Oswego. You know, it's just fun, no matter where you're at. If you know, I feel like if your heart's totally in it, it doesn't matter where you're at. You know, I just really enjoy every track I go to. You know, I do favor Riverhead a lot. You know, I grew up there in the grandstands watching my old man. You know, Wall Stadium the same. You know, if I had 3 tracks that were probably my favorite tracks, it would probably be Stafford, you know, Riverhead and Wall Stadium, you know, just because, you know, I'm familiar with them, you know, and have a lot of history with them.
Close proximity. Yep. But, okay, as far as, and again, the research that I did do, or that I read, you also, a producer's down in North Carolina. He lives in North Carolina. His studio's down there. But I noticed you run Bowman Gray, and there's been a lot of different drivers that went down there and said, whoa, you know. What's your opinion of Bowman Gray?
Bowman Gray. It's a show. If you want a good show, you go to Bowman Gray. You want a good Saturday night racing. You know, what I really like about Bowman Gray is they let you get away with a lot there. You know, and they let you get away with a lot to keep the fans happy. You know, the fans are there and they want to see a good show. You know, there's a lot of beating banging there. It's a good old short track. You know, there's a ton of history there. You know, there's a lot of good drivers there. You got the Myers brothers. You got Tim Brown. You got Danny Bones who running there. You know, and his brother. You know, there's a lot of good drivers that run there. It's a fun track. You know, if you really want excitement and you have the time and you have the opportunity to get down there, it's definitely a place you want to make a stop at along the way in your career. Because it'll always be something good to talk about, you know. I still, to this day, it's funny you said that because somebody said to me yesterday, tell me about the time you went to Bowman Gray, you know, and, you know, I said, you know, the Hillbillies called me up, the Hillbilly Racing called me up the day before and said, we have no driver, we need you here, is there any chance you can come tomorrow and, we got in the car and packed my family up, and I drove straight through with my crew chief. It was me, my crew chief, and my wife and my young son. And we drove all the way through the night, got there, worked on the car for a few hours at the shop, scaled it, and went off to the races the next day. And it was neat because we had, that night I believe it was twin 30s maybe. The first one we finished, I'd say, about 8th, and then the second one, we were leading till probably about 4 or 5 laps to go before we got spun out. But definitely a great place to go to, a lot of history, a lot of fun. There's a lot of fans there, thousands. Some people say 10, some people say 15,000 come for a Saturday. I don't know, but all I know is I've never seen that many people at a short track in my life, and it was nice afterwards to interact with the people and see how much the fans are involved in racing down there and are still short track people out there. Over here, for a while it kind of went by the wayside because Wall was open, it was closed. It was reopened, it was closed. So a lot of people kind of started to disappear. The past 4 years now since the Kraus families took over, starting to build that back up. But it's been a long time since, I was at a track where you just see a ton of people out supporting the local Saturday night racing.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you like any racetrack, but based on results, is there one track that you end up more successful at, let's say? Would you ever stop and compute that or figure that out?
I'd say, Wall, because it's my home track. Riverhead, it's the same way, New Smyrna, we went down there, we ran speed weeks, we ran real good down there, whether it was with the SK or the modified. Chemung Speedrome, ran really, really well there. Like I said, I really don't favor any track. I love them all.
Right. Just to follow up on a question that John had earlier, I told him I was going to ask you. With Wall Stadium, what would he have to do with his crate mod to turn it into something legal to run at Wall?
I really didn't get a chance to listen to too much of his interview because, to be honest with you, I just got out of work, took a shower real quick, and was getting ready to hit the shop. But his crate car to run at Wall, he would really wouldn't have to do too much. I mean, the motors are a little open in the crate division at Wall. I think you can get them rebuilt. I don't know as far as how they they are as far as sealed or what you can do or what you can't do, to be honest with you.
Okay, well,
but it's definitely a good division. It's a nice feeder division for somebody that's up and coming. For modifieds. There's a lot of good talent in the crate division. Even at Wall.
Yeah. No, he's thinking of running after the Riverhead season is over, like post-season, running a few races up at Wall. That's what he was mentioning. And I said to him SK modified, but he said it's more in Wall. It's called Sportsman. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's well, I guess at Stafford it would be considered an SK light.
Yeah, the SKs were Stafford. I corrected myself. I started out by saying SK.
SK light. I'm not sure what they're calling them at Riverhead, but
well, that's crate. Yeah, I don't know what.
It's just crate cars. It's called Crate Sportsman at at Wall.
Okay. No, I was just curious about that, and then he was curious, and I said I would ask you because not confused, but I was calling it SK for Wall, and then I corrected myself in the middle. I said, no, SK is run at Stafford. But, no, but that's where that came from. I told him I would ask you. All right, as far as your sponsors or anybody you want to give a shout-out to and how they can reach you on social media? Hello? Jimmy.
Yes.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Okay. I just was saying we'll wrap up here. I just want you to be able to give a shout out to your sponsors or anybody you want to mention, and then tell the fans how they can reach you and follow you on social media.
First, I always thank my grandfather first, but because without him, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do what I do. You know, giving me off my work schedule and giving me.
How's he doing, by the way?
He's doing good. You know, he's 86 years young. You know, he still goes to work every day. Today he was on a bulldozer, you know, pushing dirt around the yard, and then on the roller, and then spent the afternoon at his office, you know, the local pub down the street, and he's doing good. He still lives for racing. Yeah, he still lives for racing, and you know, he looks forward to it every weekend. You know, tomorrow we'll be over at Wall Stadium, and we'll be running twin 35s over there tomorrow night. So anybody listening that's going to be in the local area, maybe down by the shore for the Memorial Day weekend, stop on out and see us. It's a good show. They got some new young talent over there in the modified division. You know, some strong competitors over there. You know, Dick Barney's still got his 14 there on a weekly basis, and you know, a few other good teams. But I'd just like to thank you know, Standard Tooling for coming on board with Bob Garmarino this year with the Mystic Missile. You know, that the whole deal with the NASCAR WHELEN Modified Tour would not be possible without Jim Taylor and the guys over there at Starrett. You know, I didn't think 3 months ago that I would be back racing the Tour again. You know, I figured I'd just be over here on a Saturday at Wall Stadium. But you know, Bob got together with a great group of guys at Starrett and putting together a really good team. And, you know, without them, and nothing really would be possible this season for us on the Tour. And, you know, as far as my local Saturday night stuff, you know, MB Race Engines, Bob from Atlantic Sprinkler Corporation, my grandfather, John Blewett, Inc., Eddie Partridge from TS Haulers, Landrum Springs, AFCO Shocks. That's really it. You know, I really don't have too many other people that really help out. You know, it's really tough to find sponsors these days with the way the economy is, you know, so it's kind of, kind of, you know, all on our backs when it comes down to paying the bills, you know.
Okay. Tell your grandfather that Mike Perricone said hello, and wish him well, and wish you well the rest of the season. Okay, social media. I know you're on Facebook. Where else can you be found?
Yeah, we have a Facebook fan page. It's Jimmy Showtime Blewett, and you know, as far as Instagram and Twitter, you know, it's at Showtime6676, and that's pretty much it. Okay,
all right. Thanks a lot for coming on, Jimmy. I told you I'd get you out of here in about a half hour, 20 minutes.
No problem. I'm going to head in that shop right now, and I'll probably be out there till about 1:30 in the morning making sure everything's ready on this thing for tomorrow. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate you talking about the modifieds.
No problem, Jimmy. And we're going to have you on later in the season, okay?
No problem. Take it easy.
Okay, take care, Jimmy.
Yep. Bye.
Okay, that was Jimmy Blewett, who runs primarily at Wall Stadium and at in New Jersey, and at Riverhead at times, and also on the WHELEN Modified Tour. And I've seen the Blewetts run, the Blewett Family run for a long period of time, and especially relevant this weekend. I remember the first paint job I ever saw on their modified, my first year of writing the column, was the 76, which is now still in existence, but the first year it debuted with the red, white, and blue paint job that looked like the American flag was for the Bicentennial in 1976. And they're still running it now, and it should be patented. I've laughed with them many times about, telling his grandfather that they should patent that once it was still around. And it's especially relevant, as I said, this weekend with Memorial Day and the military and everything else. And like John said, it's a great weekend no matter where you are in the Northeast, because a lot of the tracks, weather permitting, will be running either big money races, big lap races, or just holiday bonus payouts or whatever. So get out to the local tracks. At 9:30, I don't know, is CJ, is he in the studio?
Yeah, your next guest is in the studio.
Okay. We have Kirk Priga, who runs a legend car, and I'll let him tell you everywhere he runs, because I know about Riverhead, and I knew about a couple others, but he clued me in that he's pretty much, this morning when I spoke with him, clued me up pretty much that he was running all over the Northeast. So, Kirk, are you there? Kirk?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for coming on short notice.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start off and tell the fans how long you've been racing Legends and how many tracks, which surprised me. I know you're one of the teams that travel, but I forgot about, I think it was Bethel and Seekonk, definitely I forgot about. I knew about Evergreen. So tell the fans in the North region, no matter where they're close to, they might, in all probability, if the Legends are running in the Northeast, you're going to catch Kurt somewhere. Tell the fans everywhere you run.
This year I'm going on my 4th year in Legend cars. So we've had our ups and downs in the past 4 years, but this year we started off pretty hot. We've been on a pretty hot streak. The tracks that I mostly run are Riverhead Raceway, Waterford Speed Bowl, Bethel Motor Speedway, Evergreen Speedway up in Pennsylvania, Wall Stadium, which is in New Jersey, Seekonk, which I believe is in Massachusetts,
yes,
and Stafford Motor Stafford Motor Speedway, which is in Connecticut also.
And Waterford. Does Thompson ever have Legends? I don't remember them running Legends. Do they?
Thompson has Legend cars. They don't race on the oval though. They race on the road course there.
Oh, okay. I knew there was something different because I hadn't seen them, results from their oval track, but that's why they don't run the oval. Okay. You have been very successful in what I've seen at Riverhead. The one scary thing I remember, the one time I remember, and you got trapped in the car, and for those fans that don't know, a Legend car you can have open, there is the ability to open the door like a passenger car. The doors aren't welded shut, but you got airborne thanks to one of the other competitors and hit the wall so hard that they couldn't get your door open and you had to be cut out. Tell the fans a little bit about that. Is it just the fact that the cars are so light that make them, take off like that, or what? What's the deal with that?
That happened my rookie year. It was actually like probably my 6th ever race in the Legend car. I started on the pole in the heat race. We were like 5 laps in, and second place car was looking on the inside of me, and he sent it in the corner a little too hard, and he drove into my left rear, which caused me to wheel hop and sent me over on my roof. I flipped, I think, 3 or 4 times, and when I landed, the door the car bent so bad that they couldn't get the doors open.
Right, and I remember seeing that on film because that was one of the weeks I wasn't there. Usually I made at that period I made it every week, but for that one particular reason, I don't know, I couldn't get a ride out or something like that. And I remember seeing that on film with Pete's film, and that was wild.
Pitbull.
That was wild. Now, we talked about, how did you start it as far as, many people don't start in Legends, they start in go-karts. Did you start earlier with, go-karts and things like that?
No, actually, Legend cars were the first race car I ever drove in my life. What started me in racing is I worked on Tour Modified for many years and always talked about getting behind the wheel one year I'm going to get my own car. And by the time I was really about it, I was probably a little older, outgrew the go-karts. So I figured the next step up from that would be to get a Legend car, and that's what happened.
Right. No, I remember I remember seeing you in your rookie year too. I don't know if it was your rookie year. It might have been, it had to be first year. And then you had the black car, and now you have the blue car.
I've gone through 3 cars in my 4 years.
Yeah, Vinny Delaney's helped you out a lot, I know, and that's the thing about that division too. Everybody seems to help everybody, which is good.
Yeah, we're Legend cars. We're all big one family. And when I flipped my rookie year, Vinny Delaney helped me out a lot, tremendously. He offered me a car to buy so I can get back on the track next week. He let me buy the car from him, and then he helped me put the car together and get it ready for the track. So I owe the rest of that season to him.
Right. Okay, now I asked Jimmy this because he does the tour. Is there, of all the tracks you run, is there one track, I would say Riverhead because it's your home track again, but is there one track that you're particularly successful at out of state, like in either Connecticut or Evergreen or whatever?
Well, to say there's 2, maybe 3 that I can do I have some pretty decent finishes at. One would be Waterford Speed Bowl in Connecticut. Usually on a good night I can be a top 5 car up there. Bethel Motor Speedway upstate New York. Usually, again, on a good night when the car handles well and everything, I could be top 5 up there. And then recently, the beginning of this season, I tested at Mountain Speedway, which is Evergreen now. And we were one of the fastest cars, if not the fastest car at that test session. So looking forward to racing up there, and hopefully I'll be able to get a good finish up there too.
Yeah, that's the thing with, I was looking, because of the program, because of the radio program, I check all the Northeast tracks, and the weather has been crazy, not just for Riverhead, but with, all over East. I think Wall only ran one program, or maybe 2, because Richie went up there on a week that Riverhead got rained out, one of the practices. But very, very sporadic, so hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate and you'll be able to, run a pretty consistent schedule.
Yeah, well, this weekend looks to be a beautiful weekend. So.
Right. Now, do you have any plans as far as when's the next race that's not at Riverhead? When are you going up to, around to Evergreen or into Connecticut again?
Well, our next race is actually tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to Waterford Speed Bowl.
Okay. So you're not going to be at Riverhead?
No, I will not. I don't plan on going to Riverhead too many times this year. I plan on running the bigger shows like the time trial races, the 30-lappers, the national qualifier races there.
Right. Okay, so basically, and you've always been a team, I noticed, that travels, even when you were running Riverhead pretty consistently. I would read about you like the next day getting, if not overnight, then pretty early in the morning, and going off to, like you say, Mountain or something like that on a Sunday. So your team has always traveled. In my recollection, has always traveled to different tracks, and you haven't been, just at Riverhead, even when you were running consistently from week to week there. Okay. Now, as far as your crew, has your crew been pretty much the same people, or have you added people to it this year, or what's the story with that?
My crew is me and my dad out in the shop every day. He's my biggest crew member, and but as far as that, besides me and my dad, I have my crew chief, which is he races Legend Car Tuesday. He's Ryan Lutz. Him and I set the cars up. And besides that, it's just working on the cars. It's me, my dad mostly, and then once or twice a week, Ryan Lutz comes over and helps us set the cars up. But it's mostly me and my dad doing all the work on these cars. Okay, that's basically what I remember too. I used to see, I guess it was your mom in the trailer and your father and you. Yeah. There was like a cool three. Yeah. And that's when I was, in the pits. I always just saw the three of you, and once in a while, like you say, everybody comes over and helps. But out of your trailer, I basically waved hello to basically three people. You, your dad, and your mom. So that's basically grassroots family now. You all go and travel, I guess, when you travel, correct? Yeah, me and my dad mostly. It's mostly me and my dad when we go traveling. Mom usually stays home and holds down the fort back at home. She tries to come and travel every once in a while when she's able to. But as far as traveling, it's mostly just father-son kind of thing, just me and him at every track that we go to. Right. Now, how much are you on the road? Or how many races do you race outside? Because there's no standardized tour really for the Legends. I know of two people, and I just learned of him through another program. Strangely enough, another radio program that we run on the 110 Nation, and also, the reason I didn't know about him more was because he started in go-karts, and that's Eddie Fatchler. I know Eddie. I was talking to you about him briefly after I heard about him on the other program, and he runs Riverhead at times, but then he's also going around to North Carolina and so forth. Yeah, I heard he's been doing great down there. Have you ventured that far south? Yet? No, actually, I haven't. The furthest south I've gone is New Jersey. That's about it. Okay, no, I was just wondering about that because Eddie goes almost every weekend, I think, from what I've heard from his family. Because I tried to get him on a Friday night, and they go, oh, no, he races on Friday night, So hopefully we'll have him on through a tape or something, later in the season. We were talking about taping some segments. Yeah. But he's one of those people that race every Friday. And, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, they had a big race in Anderson, South Carolina. So he went down there, and he's definitely on a plane every weekend. So I was just wondering if you had ever ventured, No, most of our traveling. Most of our traveling's done up in the Northeast. We try to keep it as local as possible. Usually, our furthest drive that we'll go to is probably would be Stafford, which is probably around 3.5, 4-hour trip from where we are. Now, that's interesting. I thought about this too when I knew I was going to have you on for the day from this morning. Has there ever been any discussion that you're aware of taking the Legends on a tour type of thing? Pretty much the INEX, and now I've said it right. I used to call it INEX. It's INEX.
pretty much you can run. The rules are pretty standard, correct?
Yeah, they're pretty simple.
Okay, so, but has there ever been similar to the WHELEN Modified, I guess, where they've scheduled like a series of races even throughout the year, or do they basically let each team travel to wherever they want to go to?
I've heard talk about there being a tour for legend cars. I think personally it would be a great idea, and it'd be something I would love to do if they had it. But as far as any action being done, there hasn't been any really specified legend car tours. But as far as points and stuff go for 600 is you race all around the country against guys all around the country, different tracks for points every weekend.
Right. Well,
that's how they determine the championships at the end of the year.
Right. But you don't necessarily face them at the track. It's just your race versus their race and who amasses the most points right now, correct?
Yeah, a guy that wins the championship for a semi-pro class, he could live in New York, and the guy that finishes second could live all the way down in Florida, Georgia, anywhere really.
Right.
When you're racing for a championship, you're not really necessarily racing against the car that you're trying to beat.
Right. Okay. Now that leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you because I have a note down here. A couple of weeks ago, we had Ann Young on, who I know you must know from Riverhead. Chris Young,
Chris Young.
Legends, and now owns, I'm sure you know, Bronson Speedway.
Yeah.
And she was saying during that program that there isn't as much, I guess, call or demand for the Legends in Florida, and she was looking to get to put something together with the Legends because they are so uniform. Maybe I don't know when she would do it, but I guess she was talking about her long range plan at this point, and possibly running the Legends down in Bronson. Would you go down to Florida if that was the case?
Well, if she wants legend cars to race at her track, what I would recommend is putting the word out, letting as many people know. And then what I would do, I would practice session for the legend cars. Anyone that wants to race a legend car at that track, open up a session just for us. Let us go down there, see if we can get our cars to work at that track. We get the right gear set up for the track, the right setup, so we can get a baseline for someone that wants to run there. We would have to see if the cars will work at that track and all this other stuff.
Right. Well, I'll let her know.
Yeah.
But she would. No, but she was mentioning that. Do you know? I mean, the rules are uniform throughout the country. I mean, at least from what I'm aware of in North Carolina, and like you say, down south as well. But do you know any particular reason, or do you have an opinion of why they wouldn't be popular in Florida, or really, I guess, have caught on in Florida? Because they certainly have the weather to race, the rain aside, but
Yeah, I really couldn't answer that. Really, all I could think of is Florida is closer to the central racing. North Carolina which would obviously be that. That's the only reason I could really think of. But yeah. Right.
Well, but I don't know exactly. She was talking about her long range plans during the program too. So, but I will let her know that you mentioned that, and I'm sure she must know. I mean, if she brings them in, I know she's going to realize with her background in racing too that you guys need to practice and set up, and you just can't go in there cold for a heat race or a qualifying race or whatever. But I'll definitely let her know in discussions, that's what you recommend. Now, as far as your year this year, what's on the agenda for this year, other than like you say, traveling? How many races do you figure, if you don't do Riverhead, races do you figure you'll be traveling to or running this year?
Well, most of our year this year is set on the Asphalt Nationals being hosted at Waterford Speed Bowl this year. So a lot of our racing is set on getting the setup right for Waterford. So at the end of the year, we can be competitive at Waterford. But besides that, we plan on traveling, as I said before, to all different types of tracks, doing all different types of racing. But besides the Legend car, I work on the WHELEN Modified Tour for the number 56 Craig Lutz. We're going for Rookie of the Year this year. So besides the Legend car racing, that's what I also have.
Right. Now, that's interesting too. Would you like to move up to mods eventually for mods?
Yes. I'm not going to give too much information away, but that is in the works. Can't really tell you when, but modified definitely in the future for us here. Okay,
very good, very good. I was going to say, I was going to ask you not when, but I just figured because you said, and I know you worked. I had forgotten it was for Craig, but I know you had worked on a mod, and I was just wondering because since I've known you, you've run Legends, obviously you said, but I was wondering if you ever planned on moving up, and you just answered that.
Yeah.
But okay. As far as any of your sponsors, do you have any sponsors that you want to give a shout-out to, or, again, besides your family, or
yes,
a shout-out to?
Well, first off, I have to thank my parents, my mom and dad. Without them, I wouldn't be on the track every weekend because most of the money's coming from them out of their pockets every week. But besides my family, my mom and dad, I have to thank my sponsors of Cassidy Romano and Love Lawyers, Riverhead Ford and Riverhead Toyota. I have George's Kitchen. I also have J&R Auto Body and also Precise Collision. And Mutafis Auto Body and Auto Sales. Yapang Pizza. And I believe that is all.
Okay. Well, I hope you get a few pizzas from them to bring into the pits once in a while.
Yeah, definitely. All of our sponsors have their whenever they would like to come out.
Any kind of food they can bring with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as any other type of racing, you said you work with the Craig. Now, how many are you at all his tour events? Obviously, if you work on the car, and does that take you away from the Legend, or how do you work that out?
Basically, the tour working on a tour car has preference over the Legend car because of its working on the WHELEN Modified Tour. So
right.
I do all my racing schedule around the schedule for the WHELEN Modified Tour.
Okay, that's because you can travel when you want to with the Legend, I guess. And
yeah,
so
and every week, every other
right.
2 weeks, I'm traveling with the tour car, so it makes it a little hard, but still not impossible to travel with the Legend car.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. If you and I could basically figure that out. I guess the tour would take precedence because they're running a standard, every week or every second week schedule. But I figured, and with that's where the flexibility of the Legend helps you out because you can travel basically at your own convenience. Like when the tour car isn't, when Craig isn't running that particular week.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's anything else you want to add to what we've gone over, I'll give you the floor for about 5 minutes or less. Mention anything you want to as far as this year, the season in general.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off on a short-term basis. Anyone out there that's going to be in the Connecticut region wants to see some great racing, come on out to Waterford Speed Bowl tomorrow. Where I think it's a 35 lap race. It's going to be a great show, something you don't want to miss. So if you're around there this weekend, take a stop on over there. It'll be a show you don't want to miss. The 36 will be out there, hopefully running for the win. Basically, this year we're going to be a lot. You can catch the 36 at Waterford Speed Bowl. Besides that, any track that we're going to, we go to every track this year with the intentions to win the race. No, there's no more of the just finish with the car in one piece. Nothing like that. We're going out there for wins this year, doing the best we can with the time that we have. Any open time, we're racing. Any time that we don't have racing going on, we're in the garage, working on cars, building new cars, fixing broken parts. Besides that, Nationals this year coming up in the, I believe it's in the fall. That's being hosted at Waterford Speed Bowl again. Like I said earlier, that I've been looking forward to ever since last year, where I heard that they're going to host it here. Because I love Waterford. I hate to pick favorites, but I'd have to say if I had to, Waterford Speed Bowl is my favorite car. My favorite track to go to with my car.
Right.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it this year. We have some tricks up our sleeves, some plans, some going on in the process for that race, and it'll be one that you definitely want to put on your calendars. Definitely don't want to miss. And if at any of the tracks this year, don't be afraid. Come on up. We got candy for kids. We have autographs, pictures. Let you sit in the cars. You can take pictures. Anything you guys want. You see the 36 of the track, don't be afraid.
Right. You guys have always been fan friendly, and most of the people in Riverhead are. But I know your crew of 3 is really into the kids too, which is good. But,
yeah, definitely.
I want to wish you luck for the rest of the season, and we'll check up on you. I guess the last question I have, the last thing I want you to mention, or let you go into is your social media, where people can reach you.
Oh, yes. We have our Krieger Motorsports Facebook fan page. We're more than welcome to. Anyone out there, we'd more than appreciate it if you go out there and like our page. We post updates every weekend about the races, the track that we go to, our finishes. We post pictures, videos, answer questions. There's a number you want if you can call. You want to call for sponsorship information, any kind of information you want. There's a number on there. Besides that, you can personally contact me on my Facebook, which is Kurt Krieger. But other than that, most of our racing is done through our Facebook page, Krieger Motorsports, like I said earlier.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Kurt, for coming on. And again, I realize it was short notice. Next time we'll give you a few days to get acclimated. But, we'll have you on in the middle of the season, the end of the season, and do like a wrap-up with you.
Okay? Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. Okay. Enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming on at short notice. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay.
Nope.
That was Kurt Krieger, and like I said, he was nice enough to come on with me because we had to switch around schedules with different people for a bit, but a very interesting guy to watch race, and he's working his way up from the Legends to eventually a tour mod, so he is definitely a talented guy. So if you get a chance to go out again, and this year, I guess, more in Connecticut than on Long Island, definitely do so. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for me. CJ, you want to wrap, you have anything you want to add about the program tonight or the future?
Just once again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, for checking out the Friday night show, and make sure you guys check us out on Twitter. Check out the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network on Twitter at 110 Nation, and check us out on Facebook, 110 Nation Sports.
Okay, and CJ, with this weekend, I just want to say thank you for your service as well. I know you're very involved in a former military, former president, whatever, military person. And I'll talk to you as soon as we're off the air, I suppose. But publicly, I just want to say thank you for your service and enjoy this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, people, next week, I really don't know who we'll have on. I'm going to try. I'm working on getting one person on. I can't say yet that it'll be definite, but I'm working on trying to get him. So he'll be a very interesting interview. And like I said last week, I'd like to get everything firmed up by early in the week, which gives CJ a chance to get the publicity out. But I'll definitely be around to let you know what's going on by about Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll get things posted up for next Friday. But until then, everybody enjoy their weekend. Thank you, everybody that came on, John, Visconti, Jimmy Blewett, and Kurt. And we'll talk to you next week. That'll about do it for me. Have a good weekend, everybody, and see you next week.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Earlier this week, Claire Tippins shared a princess nickname generator, 3 pictures of her dog wearing a tutu, and 2 online quizzes, including what candy is your dream castle made of? Claire, your sharing has tipped the sugar scale and turned into oversharing. But have no fear, princess. Geico has something worth sharing with your internet kingdom, like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance just by visiting geico.com. No magic wand required. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.